On this episode of Locked On Angels, there's a lot of questions about our Halos, but what are the three biggest questions for the Halos right now? Well, we're going to share the answers, and then we'll ask, are they right answers? Are they good answers? What are our thoughts? It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube and leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Happy Friday to you, and thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, we're here 3 days a week for the off-season. We're trying to do a little bit of in-between content as well, but we got 3 full episodes a week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is our schedule right now. We'll ramp back up to 5 days a week when pitchers and catchers report. Hey, just wanted to really quickly just acknowledge everything that's been going on in Southern California with the wildfires. Some of you guys know that I live in Pasadena. My family and I, my wife and our baby and our dog, we ended up staying at our parents, Mike, the Super Halo parents. And the reason why was just because in Pasadena, good news is our apartment is safe, but the smoke and everything was just unbearable.
Yeah.
Altadena, sorry, I'm getting a little emotional because Altadena is a place we like to be. It's just gone. And so we want to just encourage our everydayers to help any way that they can. Mike, you mentioned a really great organization, a nonprofit, right, Mike?
Yeah, Convoy of Hope, convoyofhope.org. They actually were stationed at the Dream Center in downtown LA, and were there before the fires really got out of control. They're a great organization, a great nonprofit organization. When you give to them, 100% of your donations go to the work that they're doing. It doesn't pay salaries, and so you know that you're going to give to a great organization. And we know, like, baseball and sports and Angel baseball is probably not at the top of your list, especially if you're in the LA area. And so our hope is that this 30 minutes together could be a bit of a reprieve for you and maybe something else to think about. But
it is for me, that's for sure.
Right. But we know it's difficult right now. And we are praying for you. Our thoughts are with you. And we are here to maybe help distract you for about 30 minutes. And Johnny, it's great to see that you're okay. And you're back at the Super Halo Brothers home. And so enjoy that green carpet.
And the home cooking, baby.
Home cooking.
And grandma gets a lot of time with the new baby, which is great. As well. But I know this, it's not just Pasadena, it's all over now, Mike. It's right. Hollywood Hills, it's Palisades, of course. So everything that you donate is going to go towards that. And so we'll put a link in the episode description, whether you're watching or listening. We'll share it on social media as well. But we really encourage you to give to Convoy of Hope. On today's show, we're going to answer 3 big questions that are kind of looming over the Halos this season. Talk about, are they going to make any more moves? Can they stay healthy? But first, Mike, let's get into the big question of 2025. Are the Angels ready to contend this season?
Yeah, let's start with what Ron Washington had to say. There's a great article from Rhett Bollinger at MLB.com, and he was asking Wash about his thoughts for this season. And Wash responded this way to the question, are the Angels ready to contend this season? He said, I think if you ask me that question when we're getting ready to break out for spring training, I'll have a better answer, a lot better answer. He said, but as far as being successful, I'm always ready to be successful. And the group I have is ready to be successful. We just got to wait until we get everybody in camp and see what we have. And then you can ask me that question again. John, it was interesting to hear him talk about contending versus success. So he does bring at least tries to bring some clarity. And then I'm going to need you to demystify this for us and decode it. All right. So, so what's the difference between success and contending? Well, according to Wash, this is success. He said, I think when you've been through something for the first time and you've weathered the storm, the expectations go up. But it's not the expectations that will bog them down, talking about the players. It's an expectation that they should envision wanting for themselves, and that is to be successful. I think my young group last year did a tremendous job of staying in the fight and making it through the 162 game grind, and they know what it's all about now. Johnny, can you decode that? What is Wash saying there about success versus contending? Because he doesn't sound like he's talking about one specific thing. He's talking about how they're two separate things.
Yeah, I think that there's the occasion that we kept talking about last season was these guys need to have a full season under their belt in order to get used to the grind, to do all that. I think that's what Wash is talking about right there. And so that's why our mantra last year was no expectations, especially after the offseason they had. It was like, what are you guys even doing? I guess you're rolling with the young guys, and that's fine. And look, that's what they did this season, and that's great. And it certainly gives us more hope for 2025 because now you have a baseline for who these guys are. But Mike, I think I mentioned this the other day. I think Wash now is like, okay, you guys had your kindergarten, and now it's time to get to the next grade, right? And maybe kindergarten is too elementary. There you go. Dad pun. But what I'm trying to say is I believe that this season there's going to be expectations to do better than last year because you can't spend all season trying to figure out your swing like Joe Adell did. Now he figured it out, and that's great. You can't spend your season like Nolan Shawnuel saying, oh, you know what? They want me to hit for more power. I'm going to do it. And then go back to what made you successful in the first place. If you're Logan O'Hoppe, you know that you can't catch as many games as he did, and God bless him because the guy wanted to be out there every day. But he needs more time at DH. He needs more time off his feet so that Darno can be in there, right? These are the things that you learned last season. And so if I have to look at what Wash is trying to say, they had a crappy year and 99 losses. And we know it's not all their fault. We know that it's not, we're not going to put blame on the good guys on this team. At the same time, how many times, Mike, this is off topic, how many times have you seen, maybe over the last 5 years, the Angels need to tank and get a high pick and da-da-da-da-da? How many times do you think you've seen that from different Halo fans?
Once a day.
Once a day.
Right? It feels like it's once a day,
so
right?
It happens. We do it. And everyone's upset that there's 99 losses, right? Now we got the number 2 pick. So we did what mission accomplished, right? And I don't think that they intentionally set out to tank. I think that they took last season and went, you know what? Let's just roll and see what we have. And that's what they did. And again, they didn't make any great offseason additions last season. You know, Luis Garcia was good for us. Ryan Stevenson didn't pitch for us, right? And so there's a lot of stuff from last season. We were like, come on, guys, you're not even trying. This year, it feels like they've added to the areas that they needed to add. Did they take it to the nth degree? No, I don't think so. I think that if you want to add to the rotation, then you go get a Corbin Burns type or a Blake Snell type or even Jack Flaherty, right, who's still out there. But you say Kikuchi, I'll take him. That's an improvement over what they had last year. Right. And so I guess what I'm trying to say here is that they had no expectations last year. They were able to lose 99 games and tank and get a number 2 pick. Now, this year's going to have some expectations on it. And so I think if you're going to define success, it's you got to be better than last year. You have to be. And each one of you needs to have a better season than you did last year.
A couple thoughts. First, I like the thought of fans, you've been asking for the dumpster fire, so stop calling it a dumpster fire. It's exactly what it is, right? Second thing, though, John, does it feel like, and I know that Wash said last year, going to run down the West, and we were all excited, but we really didn't believe him because we knew that this wasn't going to be the team that does that. It sounds like his language in the middle of the year, at the end of the year, and now the start of this year, it sounds like his language has really pivoted. And I think his language has really pivoted to the reason why Ron Washington was hired.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ron was hired to lead this team to the promised land, even get this team to the playoffs. I think playoffs and further than that is a huge cherry on top. I think Wash was hired to develop these young guys, and that's why there was a 2-year contract. Because I think Wash was promised, we need you to fundamentally get these guys ready. Some of them haven't had minor league experience or won't have minor league experience, and we need you at the major league level to help them get what they would get at the minor league level, but also teach them how to be Major League Baseball quality players. And we need you to do that in the 2 years that we're going to give you. Perhaps they give him an extension and he gets another year as well and lasts as long as Perry Manassian's contract lasts. But that's been my gut feeling as I've heard him talk more often lately than when he first got here. I think, Johnny, Wash was brought in for one reason and one reason only, and that's develop these guys. And if they win, that's just a bonus.
Yeah, you couldn't do it with Phil Nevin, right? And I understand why they kept Phil Nevin around. It was team's going to sell. Oh, it's not going to sell.
Right.
What do we do about our manager? And he had already been there for half a season. Wrong guy, I think, if you're trying to win in 2023, the way that they started out great. They were doing pretty well up until all the injuries happened. So I'm not going to put that on Nevin, but at the same time, it just wasn't the guy for the moment. Now they have somebody in Ron Washington who, again, has made lasting impressions and changes on a lot of players over the course of his career. I always bring up Freddie Freeman, still doing the Washington drills, even though Freeman is, a 2-time World Series champ and all-star first baseman, still doing the basics, right? The stuff that he learned from Wash. And I think that's a really great thing to see. Mike, when you speak to what this team has done, I've noticed recently just criticism toward the fact that the Angels do rush up their prospects, especially when you were talking about it the other day. Yeah. And here's the thing. The Angels have not had any meaningful minor league development probably for the last 10, 12, 15 years. And we have all noticed that. They've been ranked really low. The developmental system doesn't seem to produce at the level that other teams do. And so what Perry has done is he has jump-started that by getting these college guys. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, you do see improvements. You see the pitching labs. You see, teams like the Trash Pandas having a lot of success with their young arms and whatnot. So in one sense, I understand the criticism of, well, they're bringing these guys up. Well, you got to jumpstart it somehow. So they are making up for lost ground of the 5, 10, 15 years of not developing anyone worth a hoot and bringing them up to the team because they're semi-developed. I think that's where a lot of these guys are, especially coming out of college, like Zach Neto. And I think we'll see it again with Christian Moore this year. I think that they have jump-started what they should have been doing the last 10 years and making up for lost time, making up for lost ground, bringing those guys up. Because if you think about it, if their minor leagues had been good over the last 10 years, then the players who would be coming up right now would be good. They would be your Zach Nettos and Christian Moores. And so I think they had to jumpstart it. And I think that's why a big reason why Ron Washington is here. Get those young guys that you are trying to jumpstart your development, quote unquote, because it wasn't really development. It was, this is what we should have had. And I think Ron Washington is the perfect guy to do that. And I think that the minor league depths are improving. What do you think?
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think that the draft this last year, they really got some great players with a lot of potential. They did draft Trey Gregory Alford, who is a high school guy, right? He's going to be a potential great pitcher. And maybe they use him as as trade bait, right? For another guy to bring him in. Who knows? They just haven't had that, but now they're getting that. And that's what Perry Manassian is not the perfect GM, but he's been the best GM since the Angels have had a great GM in the early 2000s. And so Stoneman really was the last really great GM for this team, making really good moves. And so that's why I'm excited about what we have. I'm not over-analyzing or overthinking or overcompensating for what they could potentially do this season, but I do like that Wash is helping them to develop. I'm frustrated with the conversation between success and contending, but it does make sense with the players that he has right now and the team that he has right now, what he's really focusing on. And what he's focusing on is they got to get better. Expectations are rising. We're not maybe going to be a playoff team, but we certainly are going to be a team that should be much better than last year.
Yeah, and if they have a certain degree of success, then they will contend. They will have that opportunity to, hey, they're in striking distance of a wild card, something like that. And so they kind of go hand in hand. But if you're going to come out of the gate and say, this is a team that's going to contend, I'm going to be a little bit leery about that, right? And so I'm going to, again, come into this season with some expectations. I expect all these young guys to be better than they were last year. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up on the show, the second biggest question: are the Halos going to make any more moves? Do they have any more moves left in them? We'll get into all of that coming right up.
Today's show is brought to you by Gametime. Right now, Gametime has made it even easier to get tickets to your favorite events with their new feature, Gametime Picks. This feature filters out all the fluff, Johnny, to show you only the incredible deals that you want. You're not wasting your time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. With Gametime Picks, I was able to find some amazing deals. You're going to be able to find some amazing deals, and you get to see your seat right before you buy, so you know where you're going to be, and that's exciting. Plus, they have this super deal. It's great because it gives you unbeatable prices, and then the app has this all-in pricing feature. You know what you're going to be paying right up front. No surprises. That's always great, especially in this economy, right? Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. You can download their app right now, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Now we're getting into our second biggest question that needs to be answered. Mike, are the Angels going to make any more moves this offseason? Well, Perry Minasian said he's also trying to not make any prognostications about 2025, right? Prognosis negative. There's your Seinfeld reference. He's simply trying to improve the roster as much as he can heading into next year. He's also said that he's been with clubs in the past that won the offseason only to falter in the regular season. Angels have had a couple of those off seasons, right? Hey, we got Hamilton, baby. Let's go. And 2013 was terrible.
Right.
And he's been with other clubs that have exceeded expectations. Perry said, we're trying to get better. That's it. I'm not going to make any predictions. Our focus is on getting better. We'll let our play do the talking, and the play will dictate where we end up. So how much better does this team, this current team, as we stand on January 10th, have to be in order to contend in 2025? What do you say?
Well, let's start with the starting rotation, John, because they did improve their number one starter, although he isn't considered a number one starter. They got Yusei Kikuchi, and Yusei Kikuchi is much better than the guy who pitched opening day last year, and that's Patrick Sandoval, right? Mm-hmm. He's also better than Tyler Anderson, who ended up being the best pitcher in this rotation, pitching the most innings and having the most opportunities on the mound. And so Yusei Kikuchi is an improvement. That number two slot will probably be Jose Soriano. He's going to get a full season. He has a full off season of being a starting pitcher. He didn't have that last year. It was around this time last year that there were rumors about what they were going to do in extending some of these guys, making them into starters. But Johnny, it wasn't until spring training that we actually heard Jose Soriano's name come up as somebody that they were going to stretch out, right? And so then spring training was the time that they started to do that. So he didn't even have an off season where he was able to prepare for that. Now he has. Then you have, number three, Tyler Anderson, who has been a consistent starter, not necessarily a great starter, but a consistent starter for this team. And he's better than I think what the number three would be. And that would probably be last year, like a Reed Detmers for this starting rotation. Then number four, you have a Kyle Hendricks. Hendricks is a big question mark, but Hendricks is really Griffin Canning, but older, and Griffin Canning, but he has experience, right? And he also has good experience, not bad experience like Griffin Canning. He was Griffin Canning last year, and really the last 2 years has numbers similar to Griffin Canning. The difference between Kyle Hendricks and Griffin Canning is that Kyle Hendricks understands what he needs to do on the mound, and Canning really struggled with that. And then your number five starter is a combination of Reed Detmers and Jack Kahanowitz. Johnny, after watching that video online on Twitter specifically of Kahanowitz warming up and hitting 99 to 100 with his fastball. I honestly think that I would go full in with Jack Kahanowitz as my number 5 starter. And the reason why is because he's already proven that he can get to 7 innings. And if you have a number 5 starter that is going to pitch a quality start 3 of the 4 times that he's going to be on that mound, then I'm going to go with him. So in answering the question from the pitching side, how much better does this current team need to be to contend? I think that they're better on the pitching side. They are going to be asking Soriano to do something he's never done before and pitch more innings and be the number 2 guy. They are going to ask Kyle Hendricks to be what he was, and maybe he's not that anymore. And if it's Kahanowitz or if it's Reed Detmers, they are going to ask them to do what they've never done before. So they're going to have to be good to really contend. Those guys are going to have to play a career year because they haven't had any history, right? They're going to have career years in order for them to be good. But I do think that this starting rotation is maybe 2 or 3 clicks better. Let's say 10 clicks is the best. 2 or 3 clicks better than they were last season. So I think that they have a potential to be in that contention conversation because this rotation is a bit better. What do you think?
I got bad Wi-Fi, so ask me that question again.
I just asked what you thought, especially from the offensive side.
Oh, yeah. So, like you said with the rotation, I think that they're, definitely in an improved place. You got to think about where the innings come from. And Yusei Kikuchi and Tyler Anderson are going to carry a lot of those innings. And if they put their money where their mouth is, Mike, and they want to talk about being competitive, then you have to have somebody like Kahanowitz earn a spot out of spring training, just like Detmers has to earn a spot out of spring training. And all of these guys have to earn their place. And I think that's the biggest thing going into 2025. From an offensive standpoint, and are they going to add anything else? I do think the offense has improved. I think Soler and his bat is great protection. I think Mike Trout slimming down is promising. I think that he's going to be a lot more healthy this season. I like that the guys have figured out who they are, like Sean O'Well and Joe Adell. And so maybe I'm hoping and banking on the fact that they're not going to be working on their swing all season long. Yeah, they're going to make little tweaks here and there, but fundamental changes to their swing. I think they understand who they are now, which I think is really important. I don't know about any more moves, though, considering, and we'll talk more about this on Monday, I don't know that they'll make any more moves, especially like a Santander, because they just gave Taylor Ward the arbitration. They settled with him in arbitration, and that doesn't mean they still can't move him, but they also got him way cheaper than all of the predictions were, which were about 9 million, almost 10 million. He settled for, what was it, 7.5 million? I mean, so that's really affordable for the Angels, but it doesn't make me think that they're going to move that 7.5 million, especially with the kind of production you can get from Taylor Ward for just 7.5 million, right?
Yeah, and I think he's somebody that, and you said this off the air, and I don't want to steal your thunder from a quick hits episode, but you've talked about, like, if Taylor Ward's on this team and he continues to do what he does with a healthy team, and we'll talk about health in the next segment, Taylor Ward could be a really big key to what they do offensively, and what he might get back to is the Taylor Ward of 2023 and the Taylor Ward of 2024, right? And the Taylor Ward that was really good in 2022 and started to really find his groove. And I think I agree with you, John. I would love for them to find a big bat, and I would love for them to find another arm. But quite honestly, I think that they are done. And I think that what they've shown us in past history is what they're showing us right now. They're going to move quickly, and then they're going to get their pieces in place. But I think what this actually says, and this is the hope in me as an Angel fan, I think it actually says that they really are anticipating some of their young guys to actually be pretty good, like a Jack Kahanowitz. I think they're really anticipating those guys to be good. So if that's what they're anticipating, here's what my ask would be of Angel management and from Ron Washington is give them a chance and play them. Don't Don't play this game of not having him in the lineup or having him be in there occasionally with the veterans.
This year's Aaron Hicks is taking up all the playing time.
Yes, don't do that. Give them the opportunity. Let Mickey Moniak go nuts. Give him the opportunity to get warm and hot so that he can be the guy that we all know he could be and he has shown glimpses of being. Give Kahanowitz an opportunity. Reality is you know what you're going to get from Reed Detmers. So why not give Kahanowitz an opportunity to go out there and be the guy that you want him to be? And maybe Reed Detmers ends up being a really crafty back of the bullpen lefty for you. Who knows, right? And so I think that that's what needs to happen with this team. If they're not going to go get any more people, and it looks like they're not, then they gotta have a high trust for the young players. Then give them the opportunity and stop throwing a Kyron Paris out there. I want to see Christian Moore, right? I want to see the guys that you've drafted. Let them go and prove themselves. That would be my ask as an Angel fan.
I think they'll make bullpen moves. That's usually what comes in January and right before spring training. So we will see some pickups here and there. They did settle arbitration with Brock Burke, who I'm really excited about because he had a great second half with the Angels. So I think that there will be more moves, just not moves that we're going to be, doing breaking news over here on Locked On Angels.
Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 bonus bucks, $200 in bonus bucks. I can say that. Win or lose. So whether you win or lose, you're going to get that from FanDuel. This app gives you everything you need: live bets, same game parlays, so much more. And there's so many ways to get a big W. You don't have to just bet on the winning team. You can also bet on who's going to score a touchdown, how many points they're going to score, all of that good stuff. Just not 49er fans because our team's not in there. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. And again, get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. You can make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Might be getting Robert Saleh back for next season, so watch out, everybody. Let's go. Mike, the final question we want to talk about today is, are the players going to stay healthy? And in particular, can the stars stay healthy? So Rhett Bollinger's article continued. He said the Angels have a lot of confidence that Trout has plenty left in the tank. When it comes to Anthony Rendon, it appears he's more likely to shift to a backup role this season. That's something that we've been leery about because right now, as it stands, especially with the Neto injury, seems like Rendon's out there every day, which is not something we're excited about. Rhett also noted that the Angels are still deciding how much corner outfield Trout is going to play next year to try and keep him on the field. And then Ron Washington spoke about Trout and said, Trout today is still better than 80% of the players in the league. We just have to watch his playing time, try to make certain that we don't wear him out, try to convince him to take some days off. Mike, let's start with Mike Trout. Is this the year that Trout stays on the field?
Yes, this is the year that Trout stays on the field.
Wrap it up. Let's go. We're going home.
This is the year, and I think he's got a lot left in the tank. He's Mark Henry faking his retirement and then slamming John Cena. He's got a lot left in the tank, and I think that he will show himself to be Mike Trout that we're proud of. Maybe not Mike Trout of old, but he will be a Mike Trout that will go, he's a threat. He's fun to watch, and I can't wait to get to the ballpark because he's going to be somebody that's getting key hits in key moments.
He was a threat to start the season last year, right? Fastest 10 home runs across the entire league, right? And then he gets hurt. So it really is just
10 home runs. That's right. Good.
It's insane. Yeah, it was like 28 games, and and the thing about that is, he got hurt and then he's out the rest of the year. And then he tries to make that comeback and tore his meniscus again.
Right.
But I honestly believe that the shedding of the muscle weight, right? I'm not sitting here calling him a big dude, like heavy wise. It's all been too much muscle mass. And the best way you can lean out and trim out and keep yourself healthy and limber is to get rid of some of that muscle mass. So the fact that he looks slimmer and trimmer, I think is going to keep him on the field, help sustain himself out there. And if they mitigate some of that with corner outfield work, DH work, I think that's going to be a really excellent thing. So what moves help make this happen in terms of Trout staying on the field? Is it getting another player? I mentioned moving to left field. Is it DHing? Is it this weight loss that he's, dropping the muscle and trying to trim down? Is it that? What do you think is the key to Trout's healthy season success this year?
I think they have to utilize their players in the best possible way. What I mean by that is you have to decide, is Jorge Soler going to be your full-time DH, or is that going to be a rotating spot if he starts to struggle, or if you want to have Mike Trout in that spot? Does that mean that Jorge Soler then goes to the outfield for that particular game if Trout is DHing? They have to decide what they're going to do with Ward, Trout, Moniak, Adele, and Soler. They have to decide how they're going to rotate them in and then give them playing time. And if they're going to move them around, then move them around in a wise way. Put somebody like Adele or Moniak in center field. Yeah. Don't try to move somebody out of their spot that they're really comfortable in or can't handle. And I think Adele and Moniak can handle that. I think Trout's got to go to left, and so you have to figure out what you're going to do with Taylor Ward. And so if you move him to right field, which he's played before, but he seems a bit more comfortable in left field, I think that's you have to make those decisions, and then you have to be committed to the result of whatever the decision is, instead of trying to play this mix and match and figure things out and be crafty. Like, you have to really be, here's what we're doing, guys. From the beginning, we're moving in this direction. And remember it was going to be Adele and Marsh, and they were going to be out there. And then suddenly something threw a wrench in the system, and then they weren't able to do that. And then, all things kind of fell apart from there. Like, start in spring training and go, this is what we're running with, unless you blow our minds with how you're playing. This is how it's going to be. Trout, you're in center, then you're going to be in left, then you're going to be a DH for a couple of days, then you're going to be in center, then you're going to be in left, right? And I think everybody should bend and be flexible to Mike Trout. That's what I think.
Well, and the reason why Adele and Marsh and Trout, that outfield didn't work, is because Taylor Ward showed up and showed out, and so he got the right field spot that season. And so that's kind of the monkey wrench that got thrown into there. But I hear what you're saying. You have to go with where the numbers tell you, right? Where are these guys the most productive? What's working? What's not? I mean, you mentioned it. If Taylor Ward moved to right field and suddenly he stinks out there, then you got to get him back to left, or you got to let him DH more. Like, you got to be adjustable and flexible. And that's something that I think the Angels they've dug their heels into the dirt a little too much when it comes to some things. They say that they're going to be flexible and they're going to do this, and guys got to earn their spot out of spring, and then it's the same old. Aaron Hicks is DA and Mickey Moniak's not playing. It's like, what are you doing in a season where nothing matters, like 2024? Don't take away playing time. Go with where the results are. Go with what the numbers tell you. And I think this year they're going to find that if you want to keep Trout healthy, you've got to mitigate how much he's playing center field. He might play out there every now and then, but I think left field is a solution. DH is a solution. And again, go with what's working rather than, 2 + 2 = 4 and A and B and C. We got to follow this pattern. Like, just be flexible, be reasonable as the season begins.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB with our friend Sully. You can find his show on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show. Get in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. Apologies. I'm usually more on top of that. Obviously, under the circumstances, things have gotten a little crazy. And so I would love to try to go back and respond to everybody. But appreciate your thoughts and your kind words that you have been sharing. Also, Convoy of Hope will have the link in the episode description. It'll take you right to the wildfire relief that you can give to you. Mike, what do you have on deck when we come back on Monday's show?
The arbitration numbers are in. Some Angels have signed. Some Angels are going to arbitration. We'll tell you what the numbers are and who's doing what on Monday on Locked On Angels.
All right, looking forward to that conversation. We hope you have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Monday.
Went to the gym today. Mike Trout's losing weight. I'm gaining weight, baby.
Yeah, gains, baby. All those gains.